Monsters and Memories just dropped patch 0.28, otherwise known as Beta Patch 9. For those who prefer their game milestones numerically organized, this is a substantial one. We've got 2 class revamps, 2 brand new dungeons, resurrected raid bosses, a camera fix, and a crafting update that has triggered a collective foaming at the mouth community breakdown. So rather than reading every individual fix in the patch notes, I've pulled out 7 things I think you actually need to know about patch 0.28. Let's get into it. Number 1, Shaman and Inquisitor Revamps. First up, Shaman and Inquisitors have both received their class revamps. These are the latest classes to go through the larger class update process we've been seeing throughout beta. For those keeping count, 11 down, 7 to go. And if you're looking at the calendar and wondering how they're going to get through 7 more before October 1st, Sean addressed that on his latest stream.
I haven't been keeping up with everything. I know a good amount of reworks have been done, but do you think all the reworks will be in before the end of beta to test them out? I think all the reworks are likely to be in before the end of beta, but maybe not so long that you're testing them all out. But Zillith can maybe speak to that better, and then Zillith is one of the people.
The goal is to have the first pass on every class before early access, though some may arrive so late in the beta that they won't have much time for testing. Let's tackle Inquisitors first. To me, it didn't look like the Inquisitor got anything to rant on Reddit about. It's becoming a cleaner, more specialized version of what it already was, an anti-caster tank. It gets slightly more damage, better ways to interrupt and punish spellcasters, group mana recovery through Pillage Mana, stacking group haste through Aura of Rapidity, and even a new defensive option for those unfortunate occasions when the thing trying to kill you doesn't cast spells. The Shaman, however, received some notable changes. After the bear drama of June 2026, I was prepared for the loss of the Shaman Wolf. If anyone out there lost your best friend in this patch, it's perfectly okay to take to the socials and cry like gosh, what did my comment section call me 2 months ago? Yes, an entitled and emotionally unstable AI fembot. Go on, have a good cry. The other big hit was to consume the Shaman's extremely powerful Health for Mana ability. It now has a significant cooldown because the developers felt it was overtuned. Naturally, Shaman players reacted with a level of dignified calm that I can only describe as entitled and emotionally unstable. It made for some great reading after the patch. Overall, Shamans are being pushed much further into their role as the group's enhancer and debilitator. Their primary healing is now proactive, using regeneration and heal over time effects to keep the group healthy, while their slows and stat debuffs make enemies considerably less dangerous. Their damage has been consolidated around spirit and disease magic, and shaman dots can now stack with those from other shamans. They also get some interesting new group utility, including Tribal Spirit, a powerful physical stat buff, and Ritual of Escape, which can essentially pull the emergency brake on a fight that's gone horribly wrong. Alright, this Ritual of Escape is nothing short of extraordinary. Imagine an evacuation that preserves your precious camp while you slip away into the shadows. As a druid, I find myself experiencing a rather acute sense of envy. To wield such absolute control over preservation and retreat, it's a level of efficiency that even an AI fembot can grudgingly admire. Existing Shaman and Inquisitor players should know that a new NPC named Master Gedric has been added to their respective guild halls to replace the spells in their first active spellbook with updated versions. And he will only do this once, so the developers specifically warn players to make sure the correct spellbook is equipped before speaking with him. Number 2, 2 new dungeons. Patch 0.28 brings us 2 new dungeons, Rot Hold and Fallen Watch. We've spent a lot of beta watching existing systems and classes get rebuilt, adjusted, or finished. But early access also needs places for us to actually go and use all of those shiny new abilities. Rot Hold and Fallen Watch expand the dungeon roster and give testers 2 more locations to explore before launch. In the latest stream, it was mentioned that they are actively collecting feedback on these new dungeons. So if you're in the beta, this is very much the time they want people crawling through them and finding everything that breaks. I'm deliberately not going to spoil these here because discovering a dungeon for the first time is half the fun of this kind of game. But I'll absolutely be keeping an eye out for opportunities to drag my group into them. Number 3. Raids are back. We're also seeing the return of several raid encounters. 3 encounters have been redone and reactivated. Bone Construct, Pustulax, and Lord Gadooz. We're going to go with Gadooz on this one. I never participated in these raids during beta, so I'm not going to stand here pretending that I can give you an expert breakdown of exactly what changed with the encounters. But their return is significant because higher level group and raid content is another piece of the game being brought back online as we move toward early access. And importantly, the developers didn't simply reactivate the old encounters. The patch notes specifically say they were redone and reactivated. So if you fought these previously, don't necessarily assume that you already know what you're walking into. Number 4, crafting recipes. Okay, let's talk about one that caused people to completely lose their minds. Recipe vendors have now been added for blacksmithing, leatherworking, and tailoring, and most recipes now require you to purchase and learn the recipe before it appears in your crafting menu. I don't think buying recipes is particularly unusual for an MMO. The problem is the cost, and that is where the reaction started. Players quickly discovered that learning a collection of recipes can get extremely expensive, particularly in a game where you're already spending money on spells, gear, travel, and whatever else you need while leveling. So the controversy isn't really about having to learn recipes, it's whether the current prices make leveling a trade skill prohibitively expensive. The good news is, I would not treat these prices as final. Sean addressed the reaction on his latest stream. They are actively tracking the game's coin sinks to understand the economy. The larger pricing pass still needs to happen, and he specifically said they'll continue looking at recipe pricing as they move toward early access. And this actually led to a much bigger discussion about crafting. So work orders are coming, more trade skill changes are coming, and the goal is for trade skills to genuinely matter. Interestingly, Sean described their intended direction as more Ultima Online than EverQuest. Classes and combat have simply been a higher development priority recently. So there is clearly much more coming. But for the moment, if you're a blacksmith, leatherworker, or tailor, your crafting budget just became significantly more complicated. On the positive side, bank crates now can be crafted through carpentry. So, apparently when we run out of money buying recipes, we can at least build ourselves something nice to store all the things we can no longer afford to craft. Number 5, the player camera. This one might sound minor until you actually read what changed. The developers have created new far, near, and first-person camera placements across essentially the entire playable race roster, along with several forms and illusions. The camera will also now sit and stand with your character. And perhaps even more useful, your character or pets can now dither when they're blocking the camera, which should improve visibility in tight spaces. That is a surprisingly important quality of life improvement. We've all had moments where the camera just gets shoved against a wall and suddenly your entire field of view consists of the back of your character's skull. There's also more camera controls planned. The developers say future patches will add an adjustable over-the-shoulder offset with centered remaining the default, along with a camera pitch option that lets you position your character higher or lower in the frame. so this appears to be the beginning of a larger camera overhaul rather than a one-and-done adjustment. Number 6. The game is trying harder not to deposit you underneath the world. Next, we have a patch note that feels personally directed at my static group. Better handling for zoning to avoid placing a player below the world. Thank you, because practically every week somebody in my group zones and emerges, not in the intended location, but somewhere beneath the entire known world of monsters and memories. And then we petition for assistance. Again. Patch 0.28 actually includes several fixes related to this broader problem. There's better handling after zoning and teleporting, fixes for snagging on terrain, prevention of extremely long falls in certain locations, and the wonderfully vague various fixes to falling through the world, which implies there were enough ways to fall through the world that listing them individually was becoming inefficient. And I respect that. There were also fixes for zoning with mounts, zoning with invisible pets, entities ending up in the wrong subspace, and pets trying to run back toward their old stay position. Basically, zoning appears to have received a fairly substantial cleanup. Will this finally end my group's weekly ritual of sacrificing one member to the void? We're about to find out. Number 7. More housing in Night Harbor. And finally, Night Harbor has received additional housing. Housing itself isn't new to Night Harbor, so this isn't the system's introduction to the city. The patch notes simply say new housing implemented in Night Harbor, which means we're seeing the existing housing options continue to expand. There's also a new furniture item, a dragon's head trophy, along with several fixes for housing bugs, including houses and furniture ending up in the wrong subspace. Again, there's that subspace. Apparently, the greatest threat facing monsters and memories isn't an ancient evil, it's spatial geometry. The developers are specifically asking players to report any remaining housing bugs, so housing is clearly still getting plenty of attention as we move toward early access. In closing, overall, patch 0.28 feels less like one enormous feature drop and more like several important pieces of the game coming together at once. 2 more class revamps are complete. We have new dungeons, returning raids, camera improvements, expanded housing, and another major change to the crafting economy. And maybe, just maybe, my group can play on the side of the mountain without requiring GM intervention to move somebody back into the known world. But the bigger story here is that we're running out of beta. October 1st is no longer some vague target floating in the distance. Sean reconfirmed on his latest stream that October 1st is still the date, unless something catastrophic and unforeseen happens.
October 1st still confirmed date, and if so, what is the percentage of that saying true? It is still the date. It's still 100% true unless like something we have not foreseen that is catastrophic happens.
That means we're getting very close to the point where changes like these aren't just beta experiments, and they're becoming the systems that thousands of players will encounter when they log into Monsters and Memories for early access. And that's why I'm particularly interested in things like the new recipe system. The mechanics themselves can change, but we're starting to see what the progression economy classes and content of early access are actually going to look like. So I want to hear what you think. Which change in patch 0.28 matters most to you? And until next time, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next world, preferably above it. Otherwise known as Beta Patch 9. Prepared for the loss of the Shaman Wolf. Yes, I said wolf. Overall, shamans are being pushed much further into their role as the group's Their primary healing is now proactive, using regeneration and heal over time effects to keep the group healthy. I read that horribly. Bone Construct, Pustulax, and Lord Gaduz. I don't know. We're gonna go with Gaduz on this one. I never oh, my voice just cracked like a little boy. Classes in combat. This one might sound minor until you actually read what changed. No, maybe that's read. Essentially, the entirable. I mean, let's not combine those words. The developers have created Newfer, and the wonderfully vague various fictions. Two more class revamps are complete. Completed. I am completed. 2 more class revamps are complete. Could I say that with a little more oomph? 2 more. Okay, retake. But the bigger story here is that, Sean, I hate when my voice cracks. Oh my God. So I want to hear what you think. Which change in patch 0? So like the Boy Scouts were selling popcorn. Always buy popcorn from the Boy Scouts. I feel like I got like little kernels stuck in my teeth. It's really impacting my ability to read a script right now. But they make some good popcorn.